Hi guys, thank you everyone for being here. Before we start, I think, we have Solana representation, we have Bitcoin representation. Is there some Ethereum in the crowd which feels like they have some vague knowledge about how fucked up Ethereum may be in the next years? You want? Yeah, please. Welcome on stage. Okay, so this is Matteo Icari from the Ethereum Foundation, right? Okay. Cool.
Not from
Okay. Well, you are an Ethereum. You identify as an Ethereum. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, guys, let me start with the first question. I will keep this very informal. In your opinion, which chain is the most fucked up at the moment and why? Who wants to start? Going once, going twice, no one wants to?
They're all, pretty much, they all have issues.
It's on, yeah.
Okay. They all have issues of different types. I think, people might be inclined to say Bitcoin because there is no centralized governance that will just switch a trigger for everybody. Yeah, true, but Ethereum has such a high surface of attack, a lot of stuff to upgrade. Like Bitcoin has a relatively narrow target and problem, and I think that eventually governance will not be such a big deal. So Ethereum has to upgrade the protocol, has to upgrade transactions, consensus, data availability, but also all the ecosystem, all the applications deployed on top of Ethereum. If they are fucked up, Ethereum, as a consequence, also gets attacked in this blast, And we need to upgrade oracles, we need to upgrade bridges, it's a big ecosystem. Solana has their own issues as well. Yeah. I would say Ethereum, just because it's big and it's important, and if some minor chain collapses, also kind of whatever, honestly.
Okay. Leo, do you want to give an opinion about Solana here?
So definitely we have a lot of problem because naturally Solana is designed to be speed. For speed, it's designed to be usable, it's designed to be cheap. Naturally, that's probably the biggest problem. So when we talk about consensus, we talk about sending packets, and in general, it's like it still needs to be fast if we want to keep Solana great as we all know right now. So that's probably one of the biggest issue that I would see on Solana. But at the same time, I think we have some parts of Solana that makes it kind of easier to be quantum compute. So probably after I'm gonna explain why.
Just a quick question: why did you switch to BLS just now? Basically, that seems very risky.
That's the biggest problem about consensus, and the fact that right now there are no aggregate signature that are quantum secure. At the same time, consensus was ETH-Zurich proved that consensus could have been broken in some sense, and so that's probably the most important thing that we need to optimize right now. Quantum Day is definitely much more important. It's a very important problem. But at the same time, it's not a problem that we should optimize right now if we have higher problems like consensus not being as good as it should for a blockchain.
Okay. Eric, can you give us a bird's eye view of the civil war that is happening in Bitcoin around this issue?
So I actually think these other chains are lucky that they have a quantum issue. Bitcoin is not so lucky, and the reason that I say that Solana and Ethereum are lucky is because, frankly, if you've been looking around in the crypto space recently, chains, they need something to do. Right now, with the DeFi slump and all the negativity, having a mission and executing on the mission and saying hey, we're actually reaching post-quantum safety, and we're way ahead of Bitcoin, that can be something that the Ethereum community can use, or the Solana community can use. It's something that you can brag about and say, you should move all your funds from Bitcoin to our chain because we are now the quantum safe one, and they can do it, right? They just got to come up with a roadmap, and they got to. It's hard. It's not easy. There's, like Wolfgang was saying, there's a lot of migration stuff that needs to happen also for those chains, but they can do it, and they can gain an advantage over Bitcoin by embarking upon that, and then writing very nice looking blog posts and having nice animations when you click that it says that it's now quantum safe. So I think for them it's an opportunity. For Bitcoin, it is, so you asked which one was more fucked. I think if Bitcoin is fucked, then the other ones, they're correlated, the prices, right? So if Bitcoin goes down 89% because there's a quantum attacker, then it doesn't matter so much if some of the other ones are better equipped. They're going to go down as well. So like we all live and die by the mothership, because eventually all the other cryptocurrencies wants to become like Bitcoin, right? They want to be the big boss in the room. But if it's proven that once you get to a big enough size that you're the big 2-ton gorilla, and once you get to that size, you're no longer able to move around quickly for dangerous threats. If that is the ultimate end state for any like consensus system that grows large enough, then maybe all cryptocurrencies are fucked, even if they can be nimble now when they're small. So Bitcoin now stands for the grand test of fire. Can we take on this challenge? And right now, the discussions climate. Sorry, I can go on this topic maybe forever, so I'm gonna like try to keep it short. Right now, it's not in a good. It's not a great situation for Bitcoin because we have a lot of people within the technical community of Bitcoin that do not really take quantum as a serious threat. It's very common among some of the actually smart researchers to say, well, no quantum computer has ever ran Shor's on a fault-tolerant machine over the 15 bits or something like that. So because they haven't seen it yet, they think it's not going to happen. And maybe maybe it's possible that no one builds a fault-tolerant quantum computer that can run Shor's. Maybe it's possible, but you can't design your world-critical monetary system on maybe someone won't figure it out. Like you have to think that, okay, well, this is a real threat, and what are we doing about it? The problem is that doing something about it forces Bitcoiners to meet the hardest existential questions in the Bitcoin protocol that we've ever had to face. And it's also one of those really complicated things where even if we decide to do something, we need to have like a migration window that's going to be, like, I don't know what's reasonable, like 5 years, 10 years, something within that range. And we don't even know if we have that much time until quantum is here. So Bitcoin is in a really bad situation from a cultural standpoint, from a technological standpoint, and also being the leader, the big gorilla where consensus is the most difficult.
Yeah, I agree on this, especially on the fact that users won't migrate instantly. Many people probably won't even know that they have to migrate. Matteo, I keep seeing every year a 5-year roadmap from the Ethereum Foundation, which is different every year. So can you give me a bird's eye?
I am not from Ethereum Foundation, so I
Yeah,
can't
I
speak
know,
for
but
them. I think it's important to understand Ethereum, or Wolfgang say, is a very big problem because it's very big. And if you go on Ethereum Stromap, you can see all the part of the protocol have to migrate to go post-quantum. It's really hard, really complex. But I think what the Ethereum community try to do now is tackle the problem for many different angles. And for example, the consensus part is one of the most critical part of all the system of Ethereum. And the stuff the Ethereum Foundation try to build now, it's very impressive. The Lean Sphinx, the hash-based signature for this migration is important because also try to develop zero-knowledge proof better for aggregate signature. It's not like aggregate because hash-based can be aggregated, but is a way to tackle this problem. And I think it's the only chain that do this, and they do this in public, because this is another important part. Ethereum is a community that try all the time to I am part of this community for sure, for try to make it public discussion about this, because it's not only one solution. And the possibility to have this crypto agility and try to discuss and resolve problem together is very important. And in many other chains, it's like, okay, we pick this sign and that's it. And we resolve this problem. And this is what you can read on X and stuff like this. But the problems are more complex. There are many researchers, they try to do the best part to have this. And the problem is split in two main parts, we can say three. But the most important for me is the consensus. They try to tackle using Lean Sphinx, and the other part, the execution layer, using another scheme. For example, we try to develop something, and then if we want to talk about this, I don't want to talk about this because I just go on this couch and try to talk. So, but the idea to try more stuff and see what is survival of the time, it's nice. And in Bitcoin, there is also some way for mitigate this problem, but I think the first step is try to create some crypto agility and see what is work on Bitcoin. For now, it's like it's just stall the situation, but we can see.
Okay. I have a question for all of you. So we know that, we have a lot of announcements from quantum hardware companies about their timelines, etc. For people that are not familiar with quantum, at the moment the quantum computing environment is heavily dependent on venture capital. All these companies are not revenue positive and they basically need investors to keep building. So obviously, marketing is very heavy on everything. Like every time they publish a paper, it's like, boom, we did the best thing ever. So my question is, how much do you believe in, the timelines and announcements that they give? Do you have a favorite player in the environment, in the landscape? And most importantly, how do you filter, if you try to filter, bullshit and noise from true signals? And if you can give some suggestions and tips to the people in the audience to, if you have some for addressing this problem. Whoever wants to go first.
I mean, the best way is to read the papers. Yeah, you have to put in the work. So you have to learn, you have to read the paper, learn, study, understand what it means.
Or ask Claude to summarize it for
someone
you.
reliable that who you do trust and you can trust and there are no conflicting interests. But yes, the best way is to really read peer-reviewed research. By the way, there are also companies that don't publish as much as before, and that's maybe also a signal. So, we cannot rely only on public signals anymore, and there is that. Of course, you shouldn't believe just all this marketing on applications that will revolutionize data science or, efficient supply chain without any proof of that. And it's very, very important to think about applications because this research will need effort and will need money, will need funding, and there must be, ideally, one would have some low-hanging fruits in terms of application to fund all this very, very deep, investment. So, yeah, it's a little bit obvious what I'm saying, but you should read the papers.
Read the fucking manual.
And if you want to look at roadmap, it's good, to check if they ever, these companies ever respected their previous roadmaps. And, some did, actually, pretty well. And some others not at all, like complete BS. So,
Okay.
have a look at that.
So I actually like the fact that all the people that saying Q-Day is coming, just because it put pressure on the right people to just step up and figure it out. At the same time, for us in general, I don't want to talk about Solana, but in general for us as people that build on chain, it's very important to not prioritize the marketing. So it's very, very good to know that could happen. At the same time, make your product worse to make it quantum safe right now. It's probably not the best solution for all these applications, even because as far as we all know, yes, crypto has a product market fit, but at the same time, it's still trying to find it. So trying to optimize for problems that are not here yet. But at the same time, having a lifeline, Solana was cited in the Google paper because Blueshift, my company, actually developed the first quantum signature on Solana, that it's available right now. So the VM is safe right now from quantum attacks. There are a lot of parts that naturally are not safe yet, and we'll need to work on it. But at the same time, like, if somebody wants to make their asset quantum safe right now, they could do it. It's an opt-in. It's not very efficient. It's not perfect. At the same time, like, it's something that if anybody fear that quantum is here, they can still do it.
Okay.
So I hear these conversations all the time on different quantum panels where people are trying to give their own Q day date. So the point is that a bunch of people sit here and they say, well, I think it's around 2035, and someone says, well, actually, it's sooner than that, it's 2029. And what is the point of having the conversation? What is the message that is trying to be conveyed to the audience? The message is that we're supposed to say, well, we think it's like 2030, and then what people are supposed to get into their minds is that, okay, well, we need to be ready before then. But that is actually a mistake. That is grossly like misrepresenting the challenge that we have here, because it's not about, you get a bunch of nerds together and you take sort of the average of when they say that a quantum attack is most likely to happen, and then you think, okay, we got to be ready before then. But that's not the time when we have to be ready. We have to be ready. There's two things. So what we should be talking about is, like, when do you think there's a 1% chance that a quantum computer destroys Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana and all that stuff? When do you think it's 1, or maybe 5% chance? Or pick your number, or 0.5% chance. Then that is when we have to be ready. Like, are we going to risk the entirety of the cryptocurrency protocol because you know, we didn't think the risk was like high enough? If it's 20%, yes, we have to be migrated before, like, that 20% chance, right? And then we also have the migration windows to think about. So, like, if we say, okay, Q day is most likely to happen 2035. But then we also agree that by 2029, it's actually a really significant risk. Then when do we have to get started? Well, then we have to get started last year with the migration, or 2 years ago with the migration. So, like, the only thing this discussion is doing is, like, by which date will we know we're irrevocably fucked beyond saving, and what is the usefulness of that number for us? I don't think it's so useful. I think it's more useful to say, well, I think we should be, I think that it might happen like 2029, 2030. That is when I'm starting to get scared. And of course, then we should prepare now.
On this, by the way, I had a blog post for a couple years ago. The cool thing about thinking probabilistically is that then you can literally plot what you should do. So if you assume, for instance, that the probability of Q-day follows a normal distribution, which, you know, it's an hypothesis, I would say. Let's say 3 standard deviations to be sure. You can compute the cumulant, so basically how the probability increases over time. And then you can, you know, weight this cumulant with the market cap of the coin. And you can literally see, okay, I have to spend this much money every year, for instance, on research. And the cool thing about it is that you can literally talk with skeptics that say, I think the possibility is like 1%, you know, before 2029, whatever. So, okay, 1% for Ethereum is like $40 million in R&D, and that is literally weighted on your own belief and your own risk assessment. It's not mine, which, you know. So, yeah, I agree with you, and I think we should, you know, prepare and factor enough time before.
Yeah, another thing I think is important to understand, what is mean the Q-day? Because if something happen, I think it's not something, it's like an on and off. It's like we maybe see moving some wallet that are, there is not moving asset for a year. What is the fact that is, okay, now is the Q-day? Because I think when it's happen public, okay, this is the worst Q-day, but I think it's starting happen before the problem is really public. So it's really hard to see where is the moment we have to to change all the stack. And what we can do now is try to make a system for quantum delay system. We have a paper on Bitcoin on this with something similar on Ethereum. It's like it's an ether. We don't need when the stuff happens. We can see clearly this part. So I think the best part for every protocol, every user, try to create some vault that are post-quantum. Just for example, have some PQ like on Solana, on Ethereum. There is a lot of verifier public for verify PQ sign. Bitcoin is hard, yeah, I know. But there is some other method for example, easy method for just stay secure. Because if, for example, you move your assets to a wallet that not spend nothing, you are secure because you don't expose your public key. It's more hard because there is to be, okay. But the idea is if you don't touch your money, you are safe. And another important part, I think, for now, we don't make the panic on for selling this. We need also to inform the people there are some strategy, easy strategy, just to move funds to wallet that not spend nothing, and try to migrate a little by little. But when the Q day arrive, we don't know when is this day. So it's like we go step by step and see.
Yeah, and in general, I agree. So it doesn't have to be a Q day. The capability can change a lot over time. You know, maybe at some point someone is able to do this extraction in 1 month. It's not the same attack vector than doing it in 9 minutes. And also, yeah, you shouldn't think only about the timelines, but also who gets this capability first. That changes. You know, when you are trying to understand what is the attack, you need to know who has this capability. And yeah, we don't know. Yeah. But the thing is, Ethereum doesn't have time. So the good news is that there is a lot of work to be done, and there is such a good organization and people coming together. I wouldn't call Ethereum centralized, by the way, because it's clearly open. Like, people can come and propose and do stuff. But there is good organization. I would call it that. There are people who are good at organizing and inspiring and putting people together, which is good. So Ethereum is working very hard to do this by 2029. And yeah, the 5 years roadmap, by the way, at least the last years is consistent.
Now
just rebranded from Beam Chain to Lean Ethereum, but the vision is there.
They don't have a roadmap. It's a straw map because it's more big.
But it's a Beam Chain still. And Beam Chain was seen as, no, why do you have a 5 years roadmap? We cannot wait, we have to be faster. But actually there is a lot of work to be done to do the upgrade and fix Ethereum, honestly. It will happen, I'm confident.
And also using proof of stake is a problem for the aggregator, signature, all the stuff is really a problem. For example, for the consensus, Bitcoin is more secure than Ethereum.
Okay, I want to ask a last question to close the panel. So many of you have talked about cryptographic agility. One problem that we have is that elliptic curve-based cryptography, which we know is vulnerable, has been battle tested for more than 30 years at this point. So it's a very proved cryptographic suit to use. Now, obviously, we are switching elliptic curve cryptography for something else, which sometimes, as in the case of like Kyber, Dilithium, etc., lattice-based crypto, is more experimental. So in the traditional world, the way to mitigate the risks of adopting something that is not, as battle-tested elliptic curve cryptography is that you run the cryptographic primitives side to side. So for instance, you take a certificate, you encrypt it with elliptic curve cryptography, and then you wrap it into a lattice-based signature. And then you have to break both to make sure that, to crack it, basically. In many blockchains, this is unfeasible because it gets too heavy. Like, we know that problems with, like, Dilithium on chain are exactly that. If you want to, have blocks with the same number of transactions you have today, the blocks become super huge. So basically, you have to commit on something very early, which may backfire very badly. how do you see this problem, and what are the strategies that you think may work to solve this?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good solution to the problem. If you imagine that the way we move to post-quantum safety in Bitcoin is that we have a Merkle tree. In this Merkle tree, there are multiple paths of spending your Bitcoins. So instead of having there's one branch that is quantum safe, and there's one that's ECDSA, and then you plan to sort of deactivate the ECDSA path when Q day comes. Instead of just having a post-quantum, only, let's say now if it's shrimps or some lattice-based or isogeny-based, instead of having one leaf that is just that, you also have ECDSA on top of that. Then you don't actually have the issue that, it's now much bigger, because adding ECDSA to a hash-based scheme is like adding 10 extra bytes that needs to go on the chain. So I'm in big favor of hybrid schemes where you layer the security, so you don't throw out ECDSA to add hash-based or isogeny-based, or you layer them on top of each other. It is a little bit against the design philosophy of Bitcoin, because we never do security in layers like that before. But I think in this situation, it's definitely the right choice, and I'm hoping that that's something that's going to grow in terms of grow in favor within the community. Dan Bonnet talked about it on a podcast recently, and Dan Bonnet is the mentor of many of the other people, like Andrew Polstra, who was the chief research officer of Blockstream, also Benedict Bundt, and also Robin Linus is a big quantum bear, which I think is quite funny.
Yeah, I agree, and honestly, Taproot is very nice. So
Yeah.
it works very well for this purpose. And you want to give people optionalities, and you don't need to prescribe a specific protocol for approval of transactions. Give people optionalities, give them options to do hybrid, to keep using ECDSA. Really, for me, the big question for Bitcoin will really be lost coins, and that's the only point where I can imagine chain splits. We'll see. Well, yeah, the thing is what to do if we want to freeze all the P2P, or burn P2P, all the P2PK coins, including 1 million Satoshi coins. That's going to be a big question, and there is no easy solution. So, when people tell me, is it more of a governance problem or a technical problem, I hate this question, because how do you measure exactly? But normally, when you have a governance question, it's because there is a big technical question or a problem that cannot be really solved. And the problem here is that there is no way around it. Lost coins, they will either be quantum mined or they will be
Someone
frozen.
proposed also this approach of not freezing the coins completely, but just allow them to spend very little at a time. And then the idea is that you can still withdraw the coins, but you cannot flood the market with them.
Yeah, rate limiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, hourglass.
Yes, exactly.
That's a reasonable proposal. But it still feels like a compromise.
Yeah, it is.
It doesn't feel like the solution, but maybe that's the best we can do. So, yeah.
Okay.
I think that we don't have to canonically choose one signature. Naturally, some signature are better for certain use cases. Some signature are better for others. Decoupling, for example, the seek verify by not saying we're not going to use ED25519, but we're going to use, for example, awk. Or whatever signature anybody wants to do it. I think it's a more reasonable approach of saying we're not going to put all the eggs in one basket. We have multiple contributors. We have multiple people that can work at the same problem. If we make the seek verify broad enough, we can have multiple concurrent signature that are on chain, and we can disable the one that are not safe anymore when that happen. Naturally, for Solana, currently one idea is using awk, just because it's 555 bytes, so it's still pretty small. Seems to be extremely safe, and so the next goal is just make it faster, make sending packet faster, scale the ingress, scale the outgress, and just at a point, hopefully, we're gonna, like, it means that we just need to do a 15x on performance to just like keep parity with what we have right now on mainnet.
I think the approach to start using Hashbase there is the more secure, because the primitive cryptographic is Hashbase, so it's easy, it's simple, have some problem, is slow, but you can change the angle or you use your sign part. So the idea is not just to use different sign, but also try to use in a different way. We try to do this, also Ethereum try to do this, because the idea to have zero knowledge proof or aggregate consensus, it's something huge. But the primitive is secure because it's just hashing, and if you try to layer more stuff together one on another, I think the stuff can crumble, because maybe you are just stake to the HDS area. So it's like you can do because it's cheap, but if we try to think about this, maybe we don't do the step forward to try to create something more secure. For me, using a new sign is nice, but there is not the proof of time. And the proof of time in cryptographic is important, because we don't joke, like Antonio said to me, sometimes we don't have to joke with the cryptographic. The cryptographic is an important part. So we need also to rely on a primitive that more secure. The Hashbase is the more secure for now.
Okay. I think we are out of time. Thank you very much for this panel. Thank you.